All right, guys, how's it going? Fishing California, out here talking all about fishing today. We are focusing on a rod lineup, G Loomis rod lineup. Specifically, we're going to break down the IMX. The IMX models for G Loomis. You know, there's the old IMX, there's the new IMX Pro. We're going to talk about both models, what they, the features of the old IMX, the features that they've implemented with the new IMX Pro, what these rods do well, particularly what they don't do well, things I've, had some success doing, things I haven't had success, certain areas in which this rod excels and others that it, maybe doesn't do certain techniques as well. So we're going to talk about all that. The IMX Pro. Today, we're going to break down the 782C and the 783C Mbr. These are Mbrs, that means a moving bait rod. These are 782 and 783Cs. They're casting models, so we got bait casting rods. The IMX, they're black. They got a gold emblem, says IMX. It's got your lure ratings and such. These are 6'6" in length. They are medium and a medium heavy action with a fast taper at the end of the rod. There's one power difference between the 782 and the 783. Today, we're going to break down these rods because if you've got a 782 and a 783, you've kind of got, an all-around go-to rod for a variety of techniques, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So let's say you're using a 782, right? It's a medium. It's a bit parabolic. Especially the old IMX models have more give. They're softer in the rod. They're more giving. They're more parabolic. They load up a bit better, easier, if you will. And so these rods are exceptional for your reaction baits, your top waters, your jerk baits, your crank baits, your spoons, things that you're going to pop, jerk, that type of thing all day long. They're extremely light. And the 782, that particular model is, one of my favorite. It's a 1/8 to 1/2 ounce lure rating, 1/8 to 1/2 ounce is, everything from, small, top water, micro top water, some of that JDM micro BFS finesse stuff. That's going to, throw all that exceptionally well. Let's say you're using open hook style worm plastics, creature bait plastics, whatever the plastic may be. You got an open hook. This rod's also going to really allow you to fish a lot of those baits as well. But I like to kind of incorporate, certain styles. So if I've got a crawfish, this is going to sound weird. I like to kind of rig that with an open hook and jerk bait it, jerk it around like a jerk bait. And some of the crawfish I've had some success. Some I've had more success. So depending on the way that it's designed, the way it moves in the water, but these fish are extremely used to crawfish being presented a certain way. It's actually incredible how many bites I get using that crawdad weightless as a jerk bait. So on this jerkbait rod. At the same time, you can cast that out on the bottom, and there's enough feel on this rod, the 782, as well as the 783, to be able to feel that bite and still hook up with general tactics, your general, your more traditional bass style fishing techniques. And so you really have a do-all type rod, which obviously is going to excel in reaction baits, but does everything well. It's a 6'6", so it allows you to cast in certain areas that there's a lot of structure. Maybe you got trees over you. Maybe there's not a whole lot of room to cast. A 6'6" to me, especially from the shore, allows me to take a lot of casts in areas that with a 7-foot rod or a 7.5-foot rod just wouldn't work. So one of the reasons I have these rods, one of the reasons I've purchased these rods, one of the reasons I'm making a video on these rods is they are extremely light. Their price point is extremely fair. It is extremely good quality craftsmanship products at good prices, reasonable prices. The IMX, the older models, are getting tough to find anymore. A lot of them have issues, and you know, I would recommend probably getting the IMX Pros for the reason that you know, you're gonna be able to get one at a fairly good price. They're on sale sometimes 10-20%. Buy a used one, get it half off or so. The IMX rods are phenomenal. There's times you can pick one up, it's kind of beat up, maybe for $100. These things are hard to beat for that price. They're balanced. They have, you know, the old G Loomis craftsmanship. The new IMX Pros have, you know, incorporated a blend of old G Loomis technology with some of the new Shimano technology, and they've got a wrap over the rod which reinforces it, makes it stronger, also makes it a bit stiffer, but definitely makes that blank and that rod stronger. So some of the things that I've just gone and done incredible with, like I said, you know, jerk baiting. I don't care if it's plastics, hard baits, I don't care what it is. Jerking things around, top water, absolutely phenomenal. Walk the dog type things, walk the frog type situations, especially if you've got baits, like I said, with an open hook. The one area I'm not going to say this rod does things well is going to be when you've got, you know, hooks and they're, you know, they're not exposed. They're Texas rig. These hooks are, you know, threaded through skin, and it does require a bit of a backbone to get that to penetrate. So if you got a Texas rig type setup and you're fishing that way, this is not the rod for you. Or for that technique. Okay. But other than that, this rod kind of does it all. You want a wake bait, you want a buzz bait, you want a chatter bait, you want a spinner bait, all those work. You want to throw, like I said, everything else from jerk baits to top water to crankbaits to just about anything. I mean, this is a, you know, a lot of people, they don't understand you can fish a crankbait like a jerkbait. You know, you can incorporate one style or one technique or method into another technique that's already proven. So let's say you're out there and a steady retrieve at a particular ratio, you're getting bit. You got the ratio down, you got the how fast you're moving your handle, you're getting bit. But you go through your stretch and it dies. It dies, and the next day or the later that day, you come back for round two. You come back around and you're not able to get them the way you were getting them. So somewhere within your, you know, your cast, you have to be like, okay, this isn't quite working. So what can I do to trigger these fish that I've already presented this bait this way? I can change colors, I can change sizes, I can change depths that I'm working the bait at. However, I can also just focus on the same area, but incorporate small variable difference, subtle differences into my retrieve, my cadence, to trigger these fish that I already triggered, or to trigger, most importantly, the fish I wasn't able to trigger initially. Generally, hopefully a bigger fish, but a lot of times you're able to get so many fish with a particular presentation, cadence, etc. And you know, that's kind of where it goes. That's what was active. That was, you know, you got what you got, and now it's time to go back if you want that same stretch, that same day, and you aren't going to do very good just doing the same thing with the same bait, the same color, round two. What you're going to need to do, like I said, is incorporate, you know, a lot of small variables in your cadence. So whether that's jerking it sideways, you know, with the wrist, if it's down with the wrist, if it's hopping a bait, okay, just hopping it off the bottom. Okay, so it's a great jigging rod. We haven't talked about that. We talked about the spoon. We haven't talked about, you know, how good this rod is for jigging. If you're jigging a spoon, if you're jigging a crawdad, if you're jigging plastics, if you're jigging anything, hair jigs, anything, I guarantee you, this is a great rod for that technique. It's short enough. The longer the rod when you jig, the more you actually exert a lot more energy. You're putting a lot more strain on your body. You're getting absolutely nothing for it. The second reason the shorter rods do better with that technique, these particular rods, 6.5 feet, 782, 783, is they're parabolic. They load up well, they handle well. And so once you get the fish hooked up, it's going to stay pinned. You're going to get them to the boat. There's really one technique that these rods don't do well, and that's Texas rig techniques. All Texas rig baits of all, the jig and a pig, weed guard, no weed guard, doesn't matter. If it's Texas rig, don't throw it. Everything else goes. When you get to the 783, the only difference between the 782 and the 783 is the 783 is on that next power level. So it's going to handle a different spectrum. It's going to be more in that 3/8 to 5/8 ounce rating. So, that's the sweet spot for me, 3/8 to 5/8 on the 783. So, if you're, for example, doing Pop X, little poppers, great for the 782. It's doable on the 783. It'll still handle it, but it won't quite cast as well, as far, and that thing, type of thing. So that's, what I really like is, I like my 3/8 to 3/4 on my 783, and I like my 1/4 to a half ounce on my 782. A lot. Every once in a while, I can go down on the 782 to a 1/8. Every once in a while, I can do a 1/4 ounce on the 3/8 for the 783 and get away with it because they're soft and they're parabolic. That's what I love about these rods. There's a large spectrum for lure rating. You're able to throw a lot of different weight classes on these baits. They're MBRs, so casting rods, moving bait rods is what the MBR stands for. Let's talk about policies. Return policies, warranty policies, replacement policies, all the good stuff. Policies have changed. However, although there's been a slight markup on the replacement cost is quite fair. It's quite fair. So for about $125, $140 after you ship it and you do it all, you get that rod replaced, no questions asked. And you get the new model. So if they come out with an IMX Pro, like they have, and say 5 or 10 years from now, they come out with an IMX Pro 2, second gen, you're going to have the option to upgrade to second gen. They're going to offer you that option. So that's really cool. G Loomis allows you to kind of say, hey, look, I got an NRX and I broke it. Can I change the model? I got an IMX, I broke it. Is it possible to change the model? They do allow that. So they do allow you to kind of play around with changing models sometimes. They allow you to replace it, obviously get a brand new rod, and quick and easy. So there's a lot of stress when you get high-end gear that's got no warranty policies, or are very much a difficult to get that warranty actually processed. This is the opposite. You're going to have no problems. G Loomis Shimano is 100% professional company, which is going to get you that rod sometimes in a couple days, sometimes a week. Other than COVID, there were some shortages issues that was kind of everywhere around the world. But right now, this company is, if you're bass fishing, and you're buying rods and you're buying bass rods, if you don't have Loomis rods, you're kind of doing something wrong there. Yes, you can get away with any rod to do anything. However, how effective is that rod? How much feel is there with that rod? Is it balanced? Because a well-balanced rod equals more accurate cast, less fatigue, ease of casting, ease of working the lure, wherever you're working it, whether it's surface, subsurface, top water, bottom. You're able to work it better. You're able to have a better idea of what that lure's doing, of what you're making the lure do. When you buy cheaper rods, less feel, bad balance, sometimes less control, issues with guides, issues with inserts, issues with the actual threading, the epoxy, issues in the blank, issues where the rod's prone to breaking, issues where the reel seat is prone to no longer tightening. So it strips the reel seat on a lot of these cheap end rods, low end rods. The reel seat will strip. And so that rod is useless after that happens. So there's so many ways in which, buying there's the beginner, intermediate, and advanced. When you buy the beginner stuff, the stuff that I get it's fairly priced. Just remember, quality is not something you're purchasing. Craftsmanship at a high level is not something you're purchasing. A rod, a tool to do the job. Sometimes, like we talked, technique specific, a certain job, a certain tool is needed. You don't have the right rod, and the rod is the most important part of this whole thing. Not the reel, not the line, not the lure. First, it starts with the right rod. If you can't have it on the right rod, you can't present it correctly, and do the right technique and have the right, etc. So we're looking at rod being your number one. Number two is going to be the line on your reel. Number three is going to be the bait on your rod. Number four is going to be your gear ratio of the reel. Keep that in mind, guys. These are the four most important things to getting fish: big fish, little fish, numbers of fish, quality fish. Hope this helps, guys. Trying to break down the IMX. Maybe we'll do some more. Let me know what you guys think about this. Hit that click the sub button, and hit the like button. We're a small channel trying to grow, trying to provide you guys with quality information based on our personal experience, my personal experience of fishing. I go out, I fish a lot, and there's a lot of money being made in this industry just selling people stuff they don't need, telling things to people that aren't necessarily true, but hey, they made the sale. So I'm trying to help you guys out. I'm not sponsored by G Loomis. I've had opportunities to be sponsored by people. I passed it up. Why? Because I'm not going to have anybody tell me what content I'm going to make, what I'm going to talk about. I don't want to be over here promoting products I don't believe in, that I don't fish. If I'm out fishing, I want to have certain things on my rods tied up. I want to have certain things with me on the boat. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you to make $1. I can make dollars pretty easy doing, well, almost anything. $1 doesn't have any real value, and my channel is never going to be giant. It's never going to be quite the biggest in the world, but my goal is to teach you guys, everything I can to catch you more fish, go out, expose you to the wild, the outdoors, and have a wonderful, time doing it. Memories, children, family, all the important things in life. Take care. Thanks for watching.